Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. My name is Marianne Guevara and on this channel we talk about books, movies, and more. Today is Jane Austen July and I wanted to do a video I've been meaning to do for a really long time, and that is my ranking of Jane Austen's 6 major novels. So I will only be ranking her 6 major works, so none of her juvenilia or her unfinished work of Sanditon, and that the criteria for this ranking is purely subjective. It's, down to my tastes and what I prefer and what I didn't like and what I liked. So yeah, just a pure personal ranking of her works. Also take note that there will be spoilers along the way. So I will try my best to include timestamps for spoilers, but just be warned that there will be spoilers when I talk about each of these works, or at least most of them. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. So coming in at number 6, we have Emma. So yeah, I know this is a favorite for quite a number of people, but Emma follows young, rich Emma Woodhouse, who really likes getting involved in other people's business. She kind of makes it a little hobby of hers, which leads to not so great occurrences or misinterpretations, if you will. So the main reason why Emma is my least favorite is not because I think the main reason people may not like Emma, people might find her just a tad too annoying, too much of a busybody. For me, that wasn't a problem. Like, I understood Emma. I did find her endearing. I do acknowledge that she is a flawed character, and I liked her for that reason. However, the main reason is because Emma happens to be, along with Mansfield Park, one of the largest of her novels. And I found myself, as I was reading, especially through the middle, I was kind of getting bored. I think it was just getting a tad too slow for me. We were following a lot of the side characters, and in Emma, I'm just not a fan of a lot of the side characters. I wanted more of Emma and Mr. Knightley, and while we did get scenes of that, not as much as I thought. Also, I found that the whole sort of reveal, like dramatic reveal, there's always something like that in these Austen works, like Edward Ferrars secretly being engaged to Lucy Steele, or Lydia marrying or running away with Wickham. Here it's revealed that Frank Churchill and I believe it was Jane Fairfax were secretly engaged, and I thought, like, that's it? That's like the conflict? It kind of just felt like a nothing burger for me. But other than that, it was an enjoyable novel. It was really that middle portion where I was feeling bored and it kind of felt slow. That's the reason why Emma is number 6. So number 5 is Sense and Sensibility. So we are following the Dashwood sisters, Eleanor and Marianne. Their family, after a tragic death, are kind of having to go through economic change and move to a new place, and having to deal with all of the craziness that ensues, along with all the romance that is involved. Now, the reason why this book is number 5 has to do with the romance. I feel like that was the one drawback in this book. I just wasn't really into the romances in this novel. And this is one of the cases where I feel like the 1995 adaptation, the one with Emma Thompson and Kate Winslet, I really felt that it improved upon the novel. In that adaptation, in the beginning, we actually get to see Edward and Eleanor interact with one another, meet, form a bond. We see the seeds of a romance begin. So yeah, you kind of get invested in the relationship. In the book, we kind of start off with Eleanor and Marianne after the whole meeting with Edward, and then them moving into their new cottage, basically. Sense and Sensibility is a reread. I first read it back in 5th grade at 10 years old, which was a horrible idea because I had no idea what was going on. But I didn't care for, the whole Colonel Brandon, Marianne romance, and I still don't. Even upon the second reread, I'm not invested in it. For 99.9% of the book, Marianne does not give any, she doesn't show any inclination towards Colonel Brandon. Like, none. Until the very last page, where Austen just says, oh yeah, Marianne changed her mind and then she married Colonel Brandon. And it's like, I need a little bit more than just that. in the movie, they did a good job because there were like nice little scenes with Brandon and Marianne there. Like there's this really nice one where Marianne is recuperating from a sickness and you see Colonel Brandon reading to her. He tells her that he has to go for a while and then she asks when he'll be back. It's very sweet, very cute. You don't get scenes like that in Sense and Sensibility. Like I said, it's just up to the last page where we see that they get married and there's not much beforehand. But I do understand, I feel like the focus of that book wasn't necessarily the romances, it was more about the sister relationship. That's the way I saw it. Seeing Marianne and Eleanor's contrasting personalities. And also my favorite part of the book was seeing their sister relationship, seeing how, despite being so different, you know, they do love each other. I love seeing their relationship, so yeah. So moving on to number 4, we have Northanger Abbey. And here we're following Catherine Morland, who is a great lover of reading, especially of Gothic novels. And she ends up being invited to stay at a place called Northanger Abbey, where her imagination gets, you know, a little out of hand. So when I read Northanger Abbey, I had a great time. I remember laughing during it. I think a lot of it is due to her interactions with the character of John Thorpe, who was just ridiculous and cringe. So it made for some ridiculous and even cringy moments. You know, it was just a fun time. And I really liked the hero, or the male lead, which is Henry Tilney. For quite some time, Henry Tilney was like my favorite Austen man. You know, he just seems like the average guy in many respects. You know, he also enjoys reading. He's into muslin. You know, he just, you know, forms a connection with Catherine, you know, right away. And what I like about this book, is that it has pretty much, I would consider, one of the most realistic relationships. You know, Catherine and Henry meet at a party. She develops a crush on him. He finds out. He starts liking her. It's pretty average, which I really like. I think that's very sweet. And I feel like Northanger Abbey just happens to be Austen's one of her more lighthearted novels, especially when you consider the fact that it's meant to be a parody of the Gothic novels that were popular during that time. So, you know, that's fun. And just seeing Catherine kind of just, because she's so wrapped up in the world of Gothic novels, now that she's invited into like an abbey, which is like prime Gothic novel setting, just seeing how her imagination gets the better of her is just so funny as well. So yeah, Northanger Abbey is here because I just had a good fun time with it. Now, number 3, people may consider this sacrilege, but that's Pride and Prejudice. Now, this will probably be number 1 for a lot of people's list. The only reason why it's number 3 is because I just happen to like the other 2 better than it. But yeah, I don't know what to say about Pride and Prejudice that hasn't been said about it already. You know, it's become such a Western culture touchstone. I mean, especially when it comes to romances, like you got Romeo and Juliet, then you got Lizzie and Mr. Darcy. There's just no going around it. So there isn't much to say about, you know, Pride and Prejudice. Basically, we're following, you know, the Bennet sisters. Their mother is trying to get them married off. But then, you know, we have the arrival of a rich man along with his friend, Mr. Darcy, and him and Elizabeth don't see eye to eye, but, you know, a romance obviously ensues. Now, number 2, maybe a shock, because normally people would put this as number 6, but that is Mansfield Park. So in Mansfield Park, we're following young Fanny Price, who is basically a poor relation that was taken in by her rich cousins. For the majority of her life, you know, Fanny lives contently. However, things change when 2 London socialites, the Crawfords, basically show up and kind of disrupt the equilibrium of Mansfield Park. So I really love Mansfield Park for our main character, Fanny Price. I think Fanny is misunderstood, and people are just so used to, you know, witty Elizabeth or opinionated Emma or strong-willed Marianne, that shy, timid, introverted Fanny is someone they would consider a bit too weak for their taste. I would highly recommend that you watch this video by Olive from the book Olive. I'll link it down below. She, basically defends Fanny much better than I ever could, but she basically nails it. Fanny is a good example of showing strength in a different form. Sometimes strength isn't just about coming up with a witty retort towards someone being, acting a fool or belligerent to you. Sometimes it's literally just standing your ground when, your morals are challenged. She's very much a Cinderella character in the sense that she's kind of taken advantage of by her rich cousins, or like she's put down upon by this particular aunt, Mrs. Norris. But Fanny, she takes it all in, and she keeps going. She still loves Mansfield Park, and she still loves this family. I highly recommend you check out Mansfield Park. It's definitely more of a character study in a way, but highly fascinating. So now we have arrived to my favorite Austen, and that is Persuasion. So Persuasion follows Anne Elliot, who at the age of 19 fell in love with Frederick Wentworth. But because Wentworth didn't have that much prospects, he just wanted to join the Navy. She was basically persuaded by her loved ones to drop the engagement that they were in. And Frederick and her kind of departed brokenhearted. Now, 8 years later, Anne is 27 years old. She's basically considered a spinster by her family and friends. And she hasn't gotten over Frederick. And lo and behold, he arrives back on the scene, and Anne has to kind of deal with these emotions that she's feeling. One of the criticisms I have heard about Persuasion is we don't get to see a lot of interaction with Anne and Frederick. Not like we see with Darcy and Elizabeth and, other couples. But, I feel that adds the tension. Like, the premise already adds attention to the story, okay? The two parted on bad terms. They were left brokenhearted, and they meet after 8 years. So naturally, it's going to be awkward. They're not going to be talking with one another. And like I said, there's already that built-in tension because Anne is also hyper aware of, where he is whenever he's in the room. And she's dealing with these feelings because now there are, he's back, he's looking for a wife, and there are other women who are kind of vying for his attention. So Anne has basically just to sit there and, kind of deal with it. So already, like, that's stuff that I really like. So that appeals to me a lot. But I think what I also really love is, one, the character of Anne Elliot. Anne is 27 years old. She's like, I think, the oldest of the Austen heroines, as far as I know, as far as I remember. But yeah, she's the oldest. And the thing is, you already get a sense of maturity with her. Like, despite like the heartbreak she must have felt and, the people she has to deal with, there's just this strong sense that you can rely on her. She's such a reliable, mature character that I love reading about. And another thing, I just love the type of love. I adore the type of love that is portrayed in this novel. It's a type of love that has been through time and trial, but has proven itself to be steadfast and enduring. And I thought I really like seeing that type of love explored. Not to mention that there's just some beautiful lines in here as well. Her conversation with Captain Harville about the constancy of both men and women is just so beautiful. And right after that, you get that love letter, which is the best love letter ever penned that I've read. So yeah, it's just a very, at times somber, but just beautifully done, beautifully realized novel. Beautifully realized romance as well. It's just, I don't know, it was so satisfying to me. So yeah, that's my ranking of Jane Austen's 6 major novels. Thank you for watching. Let me know down in the comments, what is your ranking for Austen's novels? So yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye!